Sparing no expense, it is time for Luke Who's Talking. And no surprise who's joining us, our NFL analyst, former NFL tight end. Tight ends are in the news these days. We've got Luke Willson, who did get the memo.
Yes, they
We're wearing similar color. We're matching. I think it's like a prerequisite whenever you're going to be on the show. In any event, Luke, let's get right into it and talk about Josh Allen again. Saying on Wednesday, shoulder injury isn't a concern. If you're a Bills fan, are you a little concerned? Because, you know, this is a player, likes to run the ball, obviously is an excellent passer as well. But, I mean, the Bills have only scored 34 points combined over their last two games.
You know, to me, and this is a bit of a strange take, Laura, but I'm actually not concerned one bit. Obviously, Josh Allen is their best player. He's their main guy. And if you lose him, all hope is lost. But I think that with this, minor injury from what it sounds like, it will force the offense to really utilize all the weapons. And in that two-game stretch with the 34 points, to me, they've struggled to really diversify who's getting the ball. You look at last week, I thought, again, they kind of reverted back to let's get the ball to Diggs, which is always a good game plan. Then it gets to a point where they're forcing the ball to him. Let's try and develop this plan, this scheme this week where James Cook gets involved in the run game early and often, and Josh Allen maybe isn't as mobile, and we don't want him taking hits. So we're going to spread the ball around, which will lead to Stephon Diggs having less attention on him and probably having a big game.
And that could be a good game plan for, say, January football potentially as well, spreading the ball around a little bit there for the Bills. Let's move over to the NFC. And the Lions at 5-1. They're taking on the Ravens this weekend. This is their toughest test since you can argue week 2 against Seattle and those Seahawks. What do you need to see from this Lions team in order to solidify them perhaps as an NFC contender?
Well, first and foremost, I can't believe that the Ravens are favored. If you really break down the film of these two teams, the Lions have played more consistently and better football across the board. This Lions team has proven me, who was a doubter beginning of the year, that they are disciplined and they are very, very tough. So to me, if I'm a Detroit Lions fan, what I'd like to see is just protect the ball, no turnovers. If Lamar Jackson pulls, some magic and a miracle beats you, you can live with that. But the reality is, if the Lions give them the game by turning the ball over, that's the one that will really sting. So again, I actually like the Lions to win here, but I think the thing that I would like to see is to play good disciplined football where they protect it offensively. And I got a good feeling here, Lauren, that a lot of Lions fans will be happy on Sunday.
I know it's weird us talking about the Lions 5-1 as a contender, top contender in the NFC and the NFL as a whole. Speaking of top contenders, especially when it comes to the NFC, we saw last weekend those two unbeaten teams, unbeaten no longer, the Niners and the Eagles, both defeated by quote-unquote lesser teams here. Are you more concerned about one of these teams over the other moving forward as the season progresses?
Yeah, I think when you look at the Niners game, to me, I think it was a bit of a fluke. They obviously had Debo was injured. CMC ended up leaving the game as well. Purdy probably played his worst game to date. And they still really had, a chance to win it with a 41-yard field goal that the kicker missed. On the other side of the ball, the Eagles have a few more issues, and they're very, very inconsistent offensively. And to add to that, defensively, I think they have a great front seven. But with the loss of their defensive coordinator last season, you add on, they lost a couple of DBs. They've struggled to defend the pass game of opposing offenses, and they really need to figure out what they're doing on that back end because it shouldn't be like this. When you have such a dominant, front four especially, and you have good pass rushers, you should be able to cover on the back end because you get so much help with the pressure, et cetera. I think they're really trying to find their identity on defense. So of those two teams at the moment, I would be more worried about Philadelphia.
And, Jalen Hurts is not going to have many games like he did on Sunday against the Jets, and that was also without Saucy Gardner in that game for the Jets as well. Speaking of the Jets, we're all about mulligans here and second chances on SC with Jay. Your Super Bowl pick, if people aren't aware, the New York Jets. Obviously that changed. Aaron Rodgers going down in the first game of the season. So we're going to give you a redo. Who's going to win the Super Bowl, Luke Willson?
Yeah, the Aaron Rodgers thing did sting because I felt pretty good about that pick war. But, you know, kind of talking right off the last question, if I had to pick a team right now, it would actually be the Philadelphia Eagles. I know you said it's a bit hypocritical because I said I'm worried about them. But to me, in this league, facing adversity is a great thing, especially at this time of the year. They've had their struggles. They're still obviously have a great record at 5-1, and they have a wildly tough schedule coming up. They'll probably get beat up. They might not win every one of those games, but all they're going to do is be even more prepped for playoffs. They're playing great teams along the way, and they're being exposed in their weaknesses early so they can go to the film, they can coach it up, they can make adjustments. So by playoff time, they should be, ready to rumble. I do think this team is very, very talented. And on the offensive side of the ball, you mentioned it. Last week was a little rough. But that being said, you're still sitting out there with a dominant run game. Swift has been incredible. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devonta Smith. You got Dallas Goedert. You just signed Julio Jones.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to figure it out.
You're hurting my heart, Luke. You're hurting my heart. I am a Dallas Cowboys fan, so the fact you're going with the Eagles, it's a good time to say goodbye to Luke. But, Luke, we will see you again after the Thursday
sorry,
nighter.
Laura.
Hey, you're allowed to do it. You're allowed. We're just cheering for opposite teams, that's all. Luke Willson will be back joining us Thursday after this one. Week 7 officially getting underway with the Jacksonville Jaguars, New Orleans Saints. Jacksonville looking to start 5-2 for the first time since 2007, waiting to see if we will see Trevor Lawrence in action as well. We've got the game for you, TSN, also on CTV2. And as I said, after the game, SportsCenter with Jay Onrait and his guest, that being Luke. There he is. Always watching Luke, and Luke will be cheering hard for those Philadelphia Eagles the rest of the way. And if they start losing, Luke, I will point out every single time they do. But in any event, primetime NFL games this season.
I deserve it. I'll deserve it.
No, it's all good. It's all good.